So we have a very exciting session today for you. And to start off, I will first be inviting Eugene Zukov, Director General of the Central and West Asia Department at the Asian Development Bank, for some introductory remarks, after which we will move on to the main session. So for now, I pass on the screen to DD Eugene. Over to you.
Thank you, Vishal. And good morning and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, and thank you for joining today's curtain raiser and launch of the CAREC Startup Map and Innovation Network. This is the first of what we hope to see, hope to be a set of initiatives that support the governments and the private sector in the CAREC region to foster innovation and entrepreneurship in the digital and technology space through collaboration and networking. ADB is pleased to host and support the Central Asia Regional Economic Cooperation Program, or CAREC program, under which this network is being supported. CAREC, as you may know, is a partnership of 11 countries in Caucasus, Central, East, and South Asia to promote development and economic growth through regional cooperation. This program is implemented in line with the CAREC's focus on key operational clusters, such as transport, energy, trade, tourism, water, agriculture, and human development. We convene at a time when the region has started to recover from coronavirus pandemic. The impacts on human health and well-being, livelihoods, and economic activity have been truly painful. At the same time, the pandemic has accelerated digitalization, which is transforming the way we communicate, work, learn, and live. Digital technologies are helping deliver crucial services, expanding businesses, and driving competitiveness at national, regional, and global levels. CAREC countries adopted the CAREC Digital Strategy 2030 last year to guide and steer this journey. And the CAREC Secretariat has embarked on the efforts to support startup ecosystems in the region as a part of the strategy implementation. The CAREC Startup Ecosystem Map and the CAREC Innovation Network constitute a set of initiatives that will connect the region's entrepreneurial ecosystems. The conceptualization of these initiatives was based on discussions with the ecosystem players from across the region. We learned a lot of work is being conducted at the country level with active government and private sector support. However, there has been also identified need for enhancing regional collaboration and networking that can help connect these ecosystems and scale projects. The Startup Ecosystem Map will regularly collect information about ecosystem players in the region and make it accessible to stakeholders. Using the map, startup founders can find out about incubators and investors that can best support their vision, even if they're based in a different CAREC country. For instance, a startup founder in Mongolia might not be aware of the investment from Pakistan, who could help them scale up. At an individual level, young graduates can reach out to startups and with advancements in remote work, meet their human resources needs. Similarly, investors will have access to the entire region's ecosystem to source the investment deals. On a policy level, governments can observe the macro landscape on ecosystems and adjust policies to make the ecosystems more attractive for regional players. So the Innovation Framework Network is the platform for stakeholders to establish these connections and build partnerships. Ecosystem players from across the region expressed interest in such a network that will allow them to explore these valuable connections. CAREC Secretariat will design and implement capacity building efforts based on the needs identified by the Innovation Network partners. We hope to help improve ecosystem players' capacity to leverage opportunities that are available regionally. We believe that this will be also of interest to development partners who are working in this space. We welcome development partners and encourage them to share feedback on these initiatives. At ADB, we firmly believe that digital technology innovation will play an indispensable role in achieving the sustainable development goals. Regional cooperation can provide solutions that are hard to implement alone. Stronger cross-border digital connectivity, e-custom systems, and electronic cargo tracking systems can all make important contributions. We also believe that collaboration will help to address regional disparities and ensure more equitable access to technology. Incubating and developing innovations to strengthen support for entrepreneurship and technology will be the key. And initiatives such as the one being launched today will help set the stage for technology-based growth of the future and will position the new CIA, JICA, USAID, and the World Bank for sharing views and experiences on initiatives to help foster innovation and startup ecosystems. These partners have been working with various country and sub-regional initiatives by providing various kinds of support to ecosystem stakeholders and generating knowledge products. It is crucial to align our activities and work in a collaborative manner. I hope all the partners will greatly benefit from the exciting country ecosystem presentations by our CAREC Innovation Network members, introducing us to the various ecosystems in the CAREC region. Your ideas are important for us to achieve the joint vision of supporting and building the startup ecosystems in the CAREC region. CAREC Secretariat and EDB will continue to collaborate and support you on this journey. With this, we can proceed to the next session. Over to you, Vishal.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction, Didi. So as Didi mentioned, we will have a demo of first the CAREC Startup Map and then the CAREC Innovation Network. So to showcase the startup map, I invite Ellie David to provide us with an overview of what the map can do for the ecosystem and how will it engage with the various stakeholders. Over to you, Ellie.
Thank you so much, Vishal, and really great to be with everyone today. Thank you for the invitation. So yeah, we'll do a quick view about the startup ecosystem map to get a little bit of an understanding what it includes. So let me just quickly share my my screen with you. Just a second. So hopefully you can see it. If not, let me know. Basically, the portal of the CAREC startup ecosystem is an effort to put the biggest database, the biggest visualized database of the CAREC ecosystem all in one place. It has a few parts, but first of all, let's talk about why is it important to do that. The first reason is, first of all, promotional. We want people to be aware of the level of innovation in CAREC. Just like Evgeny mentioned, some people might not even be aware that Mongolia has such a robust and great ecosystem. So the map would allow us to really showcase the entrepreneurship level in each one of those countries and cities as well. All the CAREC countries and cities are being mapped over here. So it was a very big effort to make sure that this thing is happening. It allows us, basically, this project, not only to promote the startup ecosystem of the CAREC region, but also to better understand what's going on currently in CAREC. What are the top players? What are the trends and so on? Also for our project, as we're thinking about the next steps, about what do we want to work on, this would allow us to understand with a sort of a blood test what exactly is wrong in each one of those locations and what projects should we push in order to close the gaps. So that's the idea. I do want to say that currently, in partnership with the CIN, we're also going to give admin accounts to ecosystem developers all across CAREC per city, to allow them to also take part in this effort. They can add entities, delete entities, and do all the things that are necessary to contribute to this very, very big database that is already massive, but we want to make sure that it is updated constantly. So let's talk for a second about the functionality of the map. First of all, of the portal. First of all, we have a promotional element over here. The promotional element is basically the home page that has the ecosystem milestones and many other parts, ecosystem, CAREC ecosystem landscape, and so on. So that would be the idea over here. Then after that, we also have blog articles and so on to let us know what's going on currently in the ecosystem. So and that thing is gonna be constantly developed and improved. The massive parts or the most important parts would be basically the map itself. So what you have over here is an interactive, massive map of startups, currently with 6,760 startups and counting. This map is interactive. You can zoom in, zoom out, filter by the type of entity, by the industry of the startups that is interesting for you. There are many, many industries and sub-industries that you can use. Also by the type of entities, you can go and see the co-working spaces, accelerators, the leaders, the organizations, and so on. We're just starting and we hope to keep on updating it. So that's the first part, an interactive database that allows everyone to understand what's going on in the CAREC region. Other than that, I would just say that there are other parts of this map. Every city, every country has its own dashboard. This is, for example, the dashboard of Kazakhstan. Again, every city also in CAREC has this, and this is a very big amount of cities. It shows you what are the top industries, what is the rankings and so on. What are the startups in each locations that you can see. For example, this is the sample database of Kazakhstan, the 129 startups that you can see over here, and also the rankings within Kazakhstan of the cities of Kazakhstan. So that would be, and this one again this includes all the cities and all the countries in CAREC. The last part is basically the rankings. Over here, this is a ranking that are derived by a methodology of Startup Link that has been running for many, many years. The idea over here is to make sure that we are showcasing the level of innovation in each city, in each country. You can see over here that we also have the city rankings as well. There are many, many cities over here, so you can see that it's a massive, massive list of cities and countries that are being ranked. So that's basically the way that the map and everything is over here is built. Really hoping to have participation from all the players in CAREC, and this is already live. It's at startupcarec.com. Yeah, that's basically the idea over here. Really happy about everyone using this, sharing this, and having this as a home for the CAREC ecosystem. So thank you, Vishal and team. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. I'll just add that the link is startupcarec.org or startup.carec.com. We have both the links, so you'll be redirected to the same page if you use either of the .com or the .org domains. So next up, I'll invite Ms. Hira Wajahat to showcase the CAREC Innovation Network, its working, and the operationalization plan going forward. So over to you, Hira.
Thank you, Vishal. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Just a little bit of an information on what the CAREC Innovation Network is. And I think this is something that's not been done in many regions across the world. And the CAREC region would be unique in this sense. We're trying to bring together all the ecosystem builders, all of those organizations that are supporting the development of startups within the region. And this is an interesting initiative because we have different partners. Some of them are government players, and of course, the kind of scale that a government ecosystem builder can reach is phenomenal. And some of them are private sector. So the speed and the agility with which they are supporting the startup ecosystem is again something that cannot be matched by other partners. And at the same time, we have some university partners as well, and others, different private sector players who are also engaged in corporate innovation or different country-wise innovations. So what we're trying to do is bring them all together onto one platform, which is going to be the CAREC Innovation Network. And we've already started putting together this community. We have 25 partners across the 11 CAREC countries on board already. And we are trying to increase this number and inviting more people to come on board. So what will the Innovation Network do for the region? Essentially, one, cross collaboration across different countries, market access. So we get to understand how different countries are progressing, what are their needs, where can we collaborate, exchange ideas, where can different startups connect with other counterparts. And one of the very useful tools that Ellie has already shown in this regard is the ecosystem map that's helping us identify and find out who else is existing where else in the region. But why is this collaboration important? Because we are looking to strengthen the ecosystem. If we look towards the kind of investments or the funding needs that we require, this is something that can, putting the whole CAREC region together, putting all the ecosystem partners together, strengthens the proposals that we can offer, strengthens the kind of impact that we can have, the scale that we can reach, and which is why it's really important to bring in everyone with their expertise in different sectors, in different thematics on one platform. And as we build this platform, later on in this session today, we'll also be hearing from different development sector partners, how the regions in their domains or in the countries they've been working in, how are they faring? And why this is again important for us is because it helps us to address those challenges which these partners are facing, and how can we as ecosystem builders support this or build our own capacities to address the challenges that they're highlighting. And this is really the role of the CAREC Innovation Network. So the focus or the specific elements that we want to focus on is number one, the capacity building for ecosystem partners. Number two, bringing together the expertise and experience of all these partners to put together collaborative proposals, to put together those initiatives that are going to show more scale, show more impact across the CAREC region, and really create that investment opportunity or the excitement across these 11 countries, which can be not just for our region, but also for the European markets and for others to become excited about the most developing economies at this point in time in the world. So that's just a brief overview of the CAREC Innovation Network. And I think the highlight of today's session would be some of the ecosystem pitches that are partners. So we've actually got 10 different partners presenting their ecosystems or how their countries have been faring so far. What are the success stories? What are the investment opportunities that will give us a better picture of what this region is starting to look like. So thank you for that. And Vishal, over to you to take on from here.
Thank you very much, Hira. So now we'll have a group photo. So I request all panelists and presenters to turn on your cameras. And one of our team members, Zeus, will get a snapshot of all of us. So Zeus, over to you.
Hi, Vishal. Sure. Everyone, please turn on your camera. Okay, taking photo in 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, one more time for page 2. Yeah. Taking photo in 3, 2, 1, smile. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks very much, Zeus. And thanks, everyone. Great to see you all together at once. So, now we can move to the next session, which is the panel discussion on the role of multilateral and developmental organizations in the growth of startup ecosystems. For this session, I invite to the screen Mr. Arndt Husser. He's the Senior Public Management Specialist in Digital Transformation at ADB. And Arndt will moderate the session and introduce the panelists. So Arndt, if you can come on the screen, all right, great, and over to you then.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vishal, and it's a real pleasure to be part of this team and the moderator of this session. What the idea is behind this particular 1 hour that we have right in the middle of the program is to look at what the international organizations and multilateral organizations can do to support startup ecosystems in CAREC. This seems a little selfish by looking at us and the other partners in the region, but it really is meant to be an opportunity for us to support you who are startups and startup ecosystem builders in countries around CAREC. So we would encourage you to please communicate with us through the Q&A menu that is there at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and to put in your questions or your comments for us to address during our conversation. Initially, we're going to kick off with a round of introductions where each one of us is going to quickly talk about themselves, how they got into this particular agenda, and what the organization is doing in a very small and short snapshot. So I'm going to start off with alphabetically the AIIB, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and Mr. Paul Lam, who is a Strategy and Policy Officer for Digital and Technology at AIIB. He guides AIIB's engagements and investments in technology and its applications in the infrastructure sectors, which is also called infratech. Paul, could you just give us a short introduction to yourself and the role of AIIB in startup ecosystems?
Thank you very much. Hello, my name is Paul. I'm the strategy officer leading the digital infrastructure strategy as well as the technology applications in infrastructure sectors. I'm joined by my colleague Kashlaya Mishra, who is the investment officer leading on our venture capital program and also our private equity activities in the region. AIIB has approved the Corporate Strategy 2030 in about 2 years ago, and one of the thematic priorities is technology-enabled infrastructure. As we all know, technology has changed and transformed our world, but there are still many sectors, particularly in the infrastructure value chain, be it economics infrastructure or social infrastructure, that the technology penetrations is still at a very low pace. From our point of view, we believe that this market requires a lot more support, more than just capital. In order to facilitate that, we have developed the AIIB Infratech platform, which tries to bring more resources, networks, capital, innovation, and influence to support entrepreneurs as well as capital deployment into technologies that will change the infrastructure landscape. We will be no foreign to ideas such as autonomous driving, electrical vehicles, smart grid, 5G, IoT, smart cities. Now, but these sectors, if you look underneath it, it's so far behind fintech, e-commerce, and some of the other sectors that have had its really good time over the last 20 years. And this is no miracle, nor a coincidence, that today we see the opportunity. As the digitalization become more mature, it is time for us now to focus a little bit more on a more sophisticated industrial context, such as the infrastructure sectors, energy, and to use technology to solve a bigger problem. This is no way to demean any other social problems that we have solved with technologies, but it is time now to solve the ones which has more economic stake and which could be more technologically challenging. We see the world will build and will thrive upon the infrastructure for tomorrow. And this is why AIIB looks at infrastructure and particularly its technology applications and get really interested and involved in today's agenda. We can speak a little bit more at the Q&A session, and I'll be joined with my colleagues, Kashlaya, to share the strategic and the investment context in this field. Thank you very much.
Super, Paul. And really staying true to the name of the AIIB, focus on infrastructure, which is so important as the underpinning component to any digital transformation as well. So thank you for your opening comments. I'd like to now invite Mr. Holger Wiefel from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, EBRD. He is the Regional Head, SME Finance and Development Group for Central Asia and Mongolia. He is a financial sector development expert specializing in SMEs. Holger, can I invite you to switch on your camera and come live?
I just did, Hans. Thank you very much, and a very good morning from Germany. We at the EBRD are in the region already for 30 years. As you all know, we have the anniversaries this year. We just adopted a new country strategy for Kazakhstan in that regard as well. In terms of innovation, digital startups, and support to small and medium-sized enterprises in particular, we're in the region for more than 20 years. And we as an institution obviously adopted a new strategic capital framework about 2 years ago and have a concerted effort now in terms of working with early stage companies. We do so through financing, specialized financing vehicles to provide the necessary access and instruments to the target group. And as much, we actually did our very first steps in advising and technical assistance to the startup system about 3 years ago with the launch of our Star Venture program in the Southeastern Mediterranean countries. We call it Southeastern Mediterranean Summit. It's mainly known as the MENA region, Middle East and North Africa. Apart from a dedicated approach and a concerted approach from the financing and advisory side for high potential startups, we obviously are working as EBRD on the infrastructure side, on the connectivity side, with huge public sector and private sector investments in that regard. I'm looking very much forward for this discussion today. We've reached out to a couple of our counterparts in the region already, and I would like to compliment as well the organizers to launch that startup map today and the innovation network. I think it is very, very timely, as my colleague from the AIB just mentioned. Thank you so much for having me today, and I look forward to a very exciting discussion ahead.
Thank you very much, Holger. And this is the second perspective of a development bank, adding to what ADB has already pitched. So fantastic. There are 3 banks out of the way. Now I'm going to come to the Islamic Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture, ICCIA. And I have here with me Saeed Saad Ali Pasha, who is a business development manager at ICCIA, and he is leading business development focusing on entrepreneurial ecosystems in ICCIA member countries. Over to you, Saeed.
Hey, hello and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Saad Pasha, and I'm heading the business development department at the Islamic Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture. ICCI is an organization of Islamic Cooperation Affiliate Organization and a sole representative of the private sector of 56 member countries through their apex chambers. This puts us in a unique position to support the private sector meeting challenges it faces by providing our platform to be needed to mobilize investments, influence policymaking related to the private sector, and develop the private sector chambers for their sustainability. A brief introduction about the projects that we are planning to do right now, and some we will start in 2023. ICCI plans to launch an impact incubation center focused on sustainable development goals for its member countries and replicate it in different countries. We will start a prototype here in Pakistan. The focus of the center is to localize global challenges and find indigenous solutions. The center itself is going to be on a hybrid modality, so startups from different countries, member countries, can join us. Additionally, ICCI also has been organizing entrepreneurial workshops and training sessions focused on different sectors like fintech, e-commerce, and impact startups. And we also aim to scale them to other OIC countries and ICCI member countries in 2023. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Saad. Perfect. And very interesting. You're showcasing something very concrete with your Impact Incubation Center. I'd like to now turn to the Japan International Cooperation Agency. And from JICA, we have Mr. Hideki Tanabe, who's the Deputy Director General for East and Central Asia and the Caucasus Department at JICA. He's also the Chief of the JICA Tajikistan office. Over to you, Hideki.
Well, thank you very much. Hello from Tokyo, Japan. I'm now working in the headquarters of JICA, as introduced already, as a Deputy Director General of the department in charge of East and Central Asia and the Caucasus countries. And thank you very much, ADB and CAREC members, for organizing such a nice platform for discussion. And let me introduce some parts of our activities in Inner Asia, starting from Mongolia, Central Asia, up to the Caucasus regions. digitalizations and digital transformation. That is something that we have also in the mainstream of our cooperation strategy, especially that is among 20 global agenda, which JICA has been working on from last year. And we are coming up with a good sector document of digital transformation, what kind of activities and the priorities and the policies JICA will introduce in that sector. But in terms of digital transformation, digitalizations, that is not something particular sector, but it is a cross-cutting issue over almost all the sectors, including the infrastructures, social sectors, even BHN, and also business promotions. So let me introduce some of our activities that we have been doing, especially in Central Asia and Mongolia, starting from Japan Center for Human Resources Development, which we have been already doing since the year 2000, almost more than 20 years. That is focused on the capacity building of the newly coming into the market business people, starting from students to upper middle management of private companies. That was something that we have done in the from the old time of after independence of Central Asian countries, especially in Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan, and Mongolia. We have trained more than several dozens of thousands of people who wants to go into this business market, startup business, or to run the business in a bigger size companies. Because at that time it was the most important things to raise the players in the business side. But at that time, the digitalization was not enough. So manually or face-to-face trainings were done. But nowadays, those Japan centers started during this Corona, especially pandemic period, the online trainings also introduced. So the digitalizations and the digitalization, those are a main new methodology of cooperation, especially in the capacity development. But I'd like to emphasize one thing about the difference between targeting the high-end business people or the low-end startuppers. That means the digital capacities are different from those groups. So high-end people already has a computer, already can use fully the smartphones. It's easy to train them in the big cities, but in the regions where they need more jobs and more business to utilize their own local resources for the business, and then the digital divide is quite still big. So how we can introduce and support them in introducing the digital capacity, that is one of our concerns that I'd like to hear everybody's opinion or any good examples. So far, we have been working on mostly low-end capacity building in the business startups, not only the big cities, but also in the regions. Starting from one village, one product project in Kyrgyzstan, which is now introduced to other surrounding countries like Tajikistan. Now it is called not OVOP, not one village, one product, but they call it now Our Village, Our Pride. That is the name, renamed, but still OVOP. That is one of the methodologies of raising up the atmosphere of starting up small business in the regions, which started in Oita prefectures, Japan, more than 20 years ago. So many of other donors are also learning this methodology, starting from UNDP and other donors to introduce such kind of activities in many other countries around also. We have a collaboration project with UNDP in Tajikistan, two projects. One is called Livelihood Improvement of Tajik Afghan cross-border areas, which already came into the third phase. And now they are introducing this OVOP methodology in the southern part of Tajikistan, closer to Afghan border, where the most poorest people are living and suffering from the security situation next to Afghanistan. And also in Tajikistan, we are starting. We have started the SHAPE approach project for agro farmers. SHAPE is the name of approach, which stands for smallholder horticulture empowerment and promotion. That is SHEP in SHAPE approach. That is to teach them how to respond to the needs from the market when they think about the cultivation plan for the next year. That means what is better sold in the market and at the higher price. They can choose such kind of horticulture products to start cultivation by themselves. They can choose. But if they don't know about the market, they don't know what to seed. And that's why we promote them to come into the market, look at their market by their own eyes, and then decide what to cultivate.
Hideki-san, if you allow me, I'll introduce the next speakers
another
and come back to you. Is that
fine? A business incubation project in Tajikistan, which is closer to accelerate prosperity by Aga Foundation in Tajikistan and many other countries. But we are trying to put three pillars of cooperation in this BIP, business incubation project in Tajikistan, not just teaching them how to do business, basic skills, but not to the high-end people, but the low-end populations by outreach activities. And
Hideki-san,
get them
if you allow me, can I come in and bring in the next presenter?
Financing, and also to be beside them to support by startups. And I'm sorry, taking too much time, right?
Yes,
okay,
if you allow me, I will introduce the next presenter and then come back to you with some more detail. I really liked about what you've already shared about the detail that you are getting into in Tajikistan. You seem to have a very inclusive approach where you're looking at the very low-end micro enterprises, starting from farmers wanting to do business. So a very interesting approach. Thank you so much, Hideki-san. I'll go over next to the United States Agency for International Development. And we have here with us Mr. Philip Stoyanovich, who is the director of the USAID Future Growth Initiative, who's been involved in economic development in Europe and Eurasia and now in Central Asia for over 25 years. That makes us expect a lot of wisdom. Philip, over to you.
Well, I don't know about that, but I can try. Thank you very much. First, to congratulate you, wonderful initiative. We talked with your guys a long time ago. I'm very happy to see this product come along. I think it's very useful. This cross-border kind of opportunities for investment and mentorship is tremendous. I think that's a huge need in the region. Our project is a small project funded by USAID for 5 Central Asian countries. We work in 4 sectors. One of them is IT. We do support the startup ecosystems in the 5 countries in different ways in each one. We have this notion of the 3 C's, communication, coordination, and cooperation where possible. So we don't like to overlap. We want to add value. So we look forward to collaborating with all of you. We do work with ADB and coordinate with ADB, for example, in VC-related legislation in Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan. Actually, in Kazakhstan as well, ADB Ventures, we're in touch with them and we give our feedback to them all the time. In the 2 other countries, we actually have a coordination group with IFC as well. So changing legislation is one of our priorities in startups and VC legislation related. We also work from the bottom up. We focus on a couple of things, train of trainers, basically giving best practices to incubators, accelerators, all over the region. We did this a couple of years ago during COVID, giving global examples to all kinds of accelerators that are coming up. There's many new ones, and I think they need that support. We also work more in the early stage startups. I think, like EBRD said, they're a bit later stage. We want to develop the pipeline so that we have enough startups coming up to the later stages. Hey, Holger. We had a good conversation with Holger's colleagues. Hopefully, we'll be collaborating in the near future as well in Kazakhstan and other regions. We also try to initiate where possible the angel investment kind of component. There's a lot of successful business people in the countries. I think they're more traditional investors, so we try to educate them what angel investment is. We've done a couple of these kind of schools, let's say, quote unquote, in Tajikistan, Turkmenistan actually, and also in Uzbekistan. We are also focusing on women entrepreneurship and women startups. We've initiated a few pilots in Uzbekistan, currently also in Tajikistan in the Kujant area. Obviously, young women are have limited connection to this startup ecosystem. We want to engage many more. There's great opportunities for young women to start, whether it's into the software development area or owning their own business and startups. So in general, we're looking at the whole ecosystem. We're looking, again, we're small, so we're looking to collaborate as many people as possible and organizations on the private sector side and the development side. We have events and activities coming up. Anybody's welcome to join us, and we will be happy to join you in your future initiatives. We're open for any questions. I look forward to the discussion, and thank you for the opportunity. Oh, sorry, last thing. Separately, we do work on e-commerce as well, because e-commerce was mentioned. We have a separate component on e-commerce. We help sellers from Central Asia onboard eBay, and we have a Central Asia hub. We're collaborating with ITC on that. We're looking to make other connections with Etsy, Shopify for the region, etc. And then we do some other things in the policy area, but that's maybe for a different session. And we did do a 3-day webinar with ADB just about a month ago on e-commerce policies. So thank you very much.
Fantastic, Philip. Thank you very much for this overview. So you have a very broad spectrum of activities, it looks like, and interesting to see already the different entry points for early stage, micro enterprises, late stage, and then this ecosystem map, which we should think about as an opportunity to map and bring all these different activities in one place so we can have a good overview. So thank you for sharing, Philip. We'll come back in the discussion. Next up, last but not least, but starting with a W, the World Bank. And from the World Bank, we have Anelia Muller, who is a digital development specialist at the World Bank. She's been working on investment and analytical engagements, targeting the development of digital connectivity and digital economies across Central Asia and Western Africa. Anelia, can I ask you to give your opening remarks?
Thank you so much, and thank you for organizing this excellent event and presenting an exciting initiative. Congratulations on compiling an impressive map. So very briefly, similarly to a distinguished list of speakers that already presented their institutions, I mean, we basically work across 3 clusters of areas, right? Closing the data gaps through analytical products and advisory services, creating favorable policy, legal, and regulatory environments, and then supporting the ecosystem with technical and financial means through our investment and lending operations. So on the first bucket, it's about providing evidence-based to policymakers through, firm pulse surveys, firm capability surveys, technology adoption surveys that we ran. That is a quite new product that was launched a few years ago. And we haven't yet targeted any of the CAREC countries, but that would be very interesting to see because, as mentioned, I think by our JICA counterpart, there's a lot of heterogeneity between countries and within countries and between different firms. And it's good to understand why and why not they adopt technologies and how it helps their bottom line and productivity. So this is what the surveys help to show us. On the policy, legal and regulatory environment cluster, we work on a range of issues, really from anything as diverse from helping the governments to reduce spectrum fees and strengthen their data protection regulations, like in Kazakhstan, to adopting more transparent and inclusive financial sector, like in Uzbekistan, to a whole host of issues that we're now trying to target in Tajikistan. And then finally, on the investment and lending operations, here again, we have a bunch of teams that work on the whole, let's say, value chain, starting from infrastructure and connectivity, going on to platforms, going on to trust environment, and which is becoming more and more important, and then access to finance, strengthening capacity and skills. We have a range of projects under implementation across the region and in the pipeline. In implementation, we could say, mention just a few. In Georgia, for example, we've supported the establishment of community innovation centers and 3 regional innovation hubs. There is a startup acceleration program at pre-seed and seed stage and matching grant financing. At this stage, around 160 startups have been supported and financed, and approximately 75 million in private capital has been mobilized. In parallel, another project in Georgia is helping expand digital connectivity and strengthen the skills on the demand side. So there's demand for digital services created by startups. So it's a nice kind of ecosystem type of approach we have in the country. Similarly, in Uzbekistan, we have a Fergana Valley Rural Enterprise Development Project that is quite successful and is being scaled across other regions in the country now. That also has a part on business advisory, business innovation and incubation, but also a very big part on credit line for MSMEs and partial credit guarantees for commercial banks. The project is quite new, but it has already issued close to 500 subloans. And this is just some of the examples. And obviously, as I mentioned, there's quite a lot of diversity between the countries. So some of the countries are not necessarily yet there in terms of the same amount of projects that we have, but we recently taken the delegation from Tajikistan to Georgia. They were very inspired and impressed by the innovation environment and this innovation incubators. So we are expecting a new project that will start in Tajikistan as well. I'll close here because I'm sure you have a line of exciting questions to follow. Thank you.
Thank you so much to everyone. And if I could have all of our panelists switch on their video so we can see you. And the best way to do this is I might pose some open questions to the floor. And if you would like to come in and answer or make a comment, if you could raise your hand, that would be fantastic. So we have, of course, the typical questions lined up, and that is, what are the challenges and what are the opportunities? Some of you already alluded to that. But I think specifically for this panel, since we're all from international multilateral organizations, what are those opportunities that you see for this group to do better job at supporting startup ecosystems in the region? We have all been doing things. ADB, probably not as much as others. We have taken the initiative to put this startup map together to bring everybody to the same room, but you have a lot of experience that you're bringing with your organizations. So we invite you, of course, to participate, collaborate with us, but I think your reflections at this point, at this juncture, on the biggest opportunities for multilaterals in this region would be fantastic to hear about. Does anybody have a comment on that? Yes, Philip, first off, and then Holger.
I'll start. Of course, donor coordination and activity coordination is very difficult. Everybody has their own goals and indicators. We're all over the place. Holger is in Germany. I'm in Bulgaria now. You guys are in Manila. So, it's difficult. But I think there is an opportunity, and anytime we do something, and this is how I've worked in the Europe and Eurasia region as well, I always look to partner with somebody. I think it's very beneficial in many ways. Obviously, a bigger impact. We're usually a very small project, so bringing in somebody like ADB, EBRD, IFC, whoever it is. JICA, unfortunately, I haven't worked with, but that's also an opportunity. We can have a bigger impact. Giving that cooperative sense to the countries as well is a huge step forward. For example, in the regulatory aspect, in the legislative change aspect, us coordinating with EBRD and IFC on venture capital legislation is huge, because then the government see, look, we're all together. This is the right thing to do. This is the way forward. This is what you need to do. We can help you with X, Y, and Z. So these things take time and it's difficult, but I think it's very necessary. Obviously, we won't do it 100% in everything we do, but I think even on small events we can do. I mean, we did with ADB, we did a 3-part webinar. There was hundreds of people there. There was all kinds of donors in private sector and government. So it's possible. It's just, like I said, it's time consuming, but I think it's quite necessary. For example, in the fall, we're doing a VC masterclass in Tajikistan. Anybody that wants to join, they're very welcome to join. We're bringing in some VC-related experts, Russian speakers from US, Europe, etc., to work on the agenda of trying to set up the first VC fund in Tajikistan, eventually, hopefully, changing legislation, and also to talk to these potential angel investors. There's many successful business people. They just don't know the startup ecosystem as well. So this is just a small example. Again, we do many other things, and anybody is welcome to join us at any point. And anybody, I hope they can write to me for your events, and we hope that we can contribute to yours. So I think, and the last thing is just to focus on the mentorship. I think one of the greatest things that needs to happen is the mentorship. One is the regional mentorship. So they have mentors from, Bishkek in Bishkek, Almaty in Almaty. I think regional mentorship is quite important, cross country, and especially the international ones. So I think